I have 400 people on my waiting list. What should I do here? So this is a success problem, right? We've gotten really good at one type of business model, which is seeing patients time for money. And ultimately we're capped there, right? Because we only have so many hours in the day, which means we can only see so many patients per day, which means that as word grows and people start to want to come around, there's going to be a wait, right? A backlog. So there are some cool solutions and things you can do with this situation. But first, I'm going to get into a little bit of the psychology because we want to make sure that we don't have any secondary gains with this. Because sometimes what you should do is nothing because everything that's happening is exactly perfect and how you want it to be, right? So often the mistake is that we think that we need to change something, but really whatever we've created is exactly what fits our needs. So the first step, if we want to get to a different level, is to make sure that our insides actually match the outside we're trying to evolve to. And I'll give you one example, and this may not apply in this case, but it's something to consider pretty much always, is what is that waiting list doing for you, right? What is it doing for you? Because like for me, I know that when I came through, I picked up these subconscious training glitches, right? Like having a busy clinic, that's a sign of success. And the flip side of that was if I didn't have a busy clinic, that must mean that my skills were poor, right? My technical skills. The reality is most times when we don't have a busy clinic, it's because we don't have business skills. We don't have communication, marketing. We don't know how to talk to people, all these kinds of things. Sometimes it is clinical skill, but it's not always a direct association between how good we are with our medicine and how busy we are, right? It's just a convenience. It's a way to measure things. That said, it sure is comforting for the ego when we have a waiting list. And we can always look at ourselves in the mirror before bed and say, I am doing a good job. Look how many people are waiting for me, right? So we have to be willing to let that go. Because some of the solutions that I would offer here, they may threaten the waiting list, right? Because the people waiting, their potential, they're a slingshot pulled back. And in order to create that potential into something kinetic, we have to be willing to let go of the slingshot, which also means letting go of the secondary gains that we're getting from having that thing pulled back. So that's a big kind of soul search question that we have to ask ourselves before we even start trying to implement technical solutions. Because if we don't, once we start doing these solutions, we will find ways to subconsciously undermine them. And then we'll wonder why they don't work, when really it's the identity that hasn't evolved yet. So if you're still stuck in the mindset of the practitioner who thinks, I'm important because I'm busy, right? This waiting list of people is telling me how good I am. You got to be ready to evolve out of that if you want to implement any of this stuff that I'm going to share. So some of the situations like, I've got associates or colleagues or people to refer to, but nobody wants to go see them. People only want to come see me. There's something I'm doing that's special and magical, right? That my associates aren't capable of doing. And yeah, this does happen sometimes. Like if you're a different caliber practitioner, people will be drawn to you and it's like hard to get them to choose to go to the associate. So I think that there's something it's a bit of a red flag, right? If you've got 400 people waiting to get into your clinic to see you and none of them will do referrals, none of them will go see a practitioner you've recommended, there's likely something to explore there in terms of secondary gains and what you're getting out of the relationship of having a massive waiting list, which is fine. And nobody's going to say you have to outgrow that. But if it comes up, this is something to meditate on. But the second part has to do with the leadership skill and evolving that. So if you have practitioners under you, associates, employees, whatever it is, you can have a transactional relationship with them where it's very much like, I pay you, you do the work, and that's that. Or you can be nurturing them and helping them grow as practitioners and as business owners and as also leaders, right? And it's a different kind of leadership because when people are under your umbrella, if you're not trying to bring them up as well, then you'll keep them capped. So we need to be able to expand our own skill set and expand everything about our own world and not worry about the people that are kind of underneath us looking for help outgrowing us, because they'll grow with us and we'll grow with them. And one of the ways to do this is to start to evolve past being essentially a technician, right? Hands for hire, doing acupuncture, whatever else, because you're competing with your associates at that point. And it's time to actually, if you want to consider this option, it's time to actually put down that mental model of I'm the one who delivers the treatments. And instead, you start delegating and you don't make it an option for the new people coming in. So I'm going to give you two ideas here. This is the first one. This is the organic one. Analog, right? But essentially when new patients come in, instead of they've scheduled with you, you are now their provider, you create a new position within your clinic where you are the case manager or the medical director or whatever it is. And your job is to do that first initial intake consultation, explain the plan, explain the process, right? Answer any questions they have. Do a really good job with that, right? Be a leader and guide that and set the tone for the relationship. And just know that the fulfillment, right? The delivery of care is going to be delegated. You don't give them a choice. You don't say, well, you could see me, or, you could see these associates that seem to have all this availability because nobody wants to see them, right? Why? No matter how you dress that up, that's what their subconscious is hearing. So of course they don't want to schedule with that because you've already positioned, whether you know it or not, you've already positioned yourself as the great one. And now it's like, well, they're available now. You can get in with them if you really want to. People will wait because they want the quality, right? So instead, this is how it works at my clinic, right? I do the case management. I have the associates who deliver the actual acupuncture. We have a busy clinic. We've got a 400-person waiting list. This is how we do it to be most efficient. And that's it. And now what you've done is you've fed your associates. You've given them work to do. You've helped them become a part of something with you, not a smaller version of you that competes with you underneath your same roof, right? This is the kind of stuff where it takes, you got to be a little bit brave sometimes because it's like it hurts to almost let go of that. But this is what the next level looks like. You've taken a one-to-one time for money model to its logical endpoint. So you're either going to have to start selling other people's time, right? Or you're going to have to find, we'll get into the second way to do this, but you're going to have to find other more efficient ways to help the people, right? They don't require your time. So I'd say the first thing to consider, the first thing to consider is, what am I getting out of this, right? What part of my ego loves this waiting list? Why haven't I changed it already? And then the second thing is to start here and go, okay, how can I start to include my team as a part of the process? Right? Not as an alternative to me, but as part of this is the deal. It's a package deal. You get me, you get the team. How that might look, there's different ways to do this, right? But how that might look is like, okay, for your complaint, like somebody's got, sciatica or something, and you think it'll take 12 visits or something like that, right? So you could say, okay, for your first 3 weeks here, you're going to come twice a week. And then if all's going well, we're going to space you to once a week after that. And for a couple of weeks, and then we're going to move you to 2 weeks, and we're essentially going to stretch out your care. And hopefully the way we want to do this is where you can come here, and then a month later, you come back for a follow-up, and in between, there's been no pain, no relapse, nothing. At that point, we're going to call you case closed, and you're looking good, right? So you lay out that plan for them, and how's it going to be implemented? How's it going to be fulfilled? Well, it's going to be the associates, and you can do this a couple different ways. One of them is you could assign an associate to that person. You could have that person pick one. Or you could have that person understand that part of the deal is they're going to get whoever's on duty that day. Because what that's going to do is that's going to discourage them from having some attachment to like, this is my favorite acupuncturist, right? It's just kind of whoever's there. They're all part of the team for this person. So if you've got 2 associates or 3 associates, right? Associate A, B, and C, they're all a part of the team for this person. It's a different way to look at it. It's a different way to frame it. Maybe you don't like that. That's fine. Let them pick one. But it's not going to be you delivering the treatments every single time because you can't, because you're busy doing a high value skill, which is new patient consultations, new patient onboarding, new patient explaining of process, new patient treatment plan, like all the more leadership stuff. That's where your high leverage is. It's not putting in needles all the time. And of course you can keep, what do I do about the people I'm already treating? Sure. Keep them on, phase them out, that kind of thing, right? Start phasing the people in. But for new patients coming in, this would be the new deal. You just say, this is an office. We work together like a hive. It's a collective. You've got a team of us. And then your job as the case manager or the medical director, or whatever you want to call it, whatever your title is you will be communicating with the other acupuncturists and other technicians who are delivering part of the care. You'll be communicating with them on a regular basis about this case, whatever that is. And you'll also be popping in periodically for that person's visits. So for example, if you've got somebody who's made the switch from twice a week to once a week, maybe you come in during one of those once a week appointments and you just, touch base. Okay, hey, how's it going? What's going on with the pain levels? I see what's happening in the chart. I've looked at it. And I want to know, because we've started to space you out, are you noticing anything that seems like we've spaced you out too early, right? Is any pain coming back? Are you having flares? That kind of thing. So you can keep your fingers on the pulse of what's going on with the person. You can have that relationship, you can have that connection, and at the same time, you can be nurturing and bringing up your associates so they're not standing around twiddling their thumbs and essentially competing with you for your 400-person waiting list. It's just a thought, something to consider. It's a different model. It's not, I get to be the hero and treat all the people and I'm just like so overworked and I'm so busy. It's more like, how do I bring up my whole team? How do I act like the heart, right? The heart of the clinic, which is the conductor of the orchestra, not the person who makes sure to play every single instrument because only I can do it so great, right? It's an interesting thing to consider. So that's one. Another one would be building up a digital clone, right? Because you can delegate to your associates and you can also delegate to your digital clone. So full caveat, I don't have associates. I don't have employees. I have a digital clone. I delegate everything to my digital clone. So anything that my digital clone can do, that is getting done by that digital clone, which means it's very cool because I don't have to keep paying my digital clone. And at the same time, I know that I can work once and I can help many, 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 many people. My leverage is super high, and I'm not selling my time. My value goes up exponentially over time because my digital clone is busy repeating the same thing over and over again to the people that need to hear it when they need to hear it in a very high quality way. So you might consider building a digital clone as well as starting to delegate to the associates in a more empowering way, right? And what can happen there's different ways to do this, but essentially like you could do some kind of telehealth thing, but that's going to be ultimately selling more time, which you don't have. If you already have a 400 person waiting list, you don't have extra hours, or you'd be filling them with more visits, right? So typical telehealth models and that it's not going to work for this kind of situation. You really need to do fractal systems. You need to build a proper paracosm, and you need to have a program. And you need to have a program that can interface with your brick and mortar and create like a hybrid version of that, something very smooth. This is all the stuff that we do here, honestly. There's hours and hours and hours of training in the program. There's over 100 plus hours of training on how to do this. And we go over it in our summits quite extensively, so I'm not going to break it all down here, but that's the gist. Imagine taking that 400 person waiting list, finding out what kinds of problems they all have, and going, okay, which one of these problems or multiple of these problems can overlap if I create a program that's got some of the best things about Eastern medicine and different types of mindset stuff and stretching and whatever else. Maybe there's herbs associated with it, and create something solid. And then you can onboard them into the program before they ever even get to your clinic. Some of them might never need to come into your clinic, which would be very, very cool. They can do your program, they can get better, and it hasn't taken you any hours out of your day. And you can also be making another stream of income from that. It's a little bit tricky to sell people on programs without doing sales calls or consultations. However, we've got that figured out. That's part of what we do in Fractal Systems. So that would be something I would recommend implementing, is have all those pieces in place so that you can just funnel the folks who are trying to get into your clinic, even if they're only local, into an online program. That may also free up some more time. Like, for example, delegating to the associates and making it where they can really start to grow and blossom with this. If you restrict yourself and say, I'm only doing initial consults, all of a sudden you've got way more time to do initial consults, right? So these two solutions that I'm offering can dovetail into each other. It's not an either or, because as you build an online program, you can hybridize the model. So when you have a new patient coming in, which you can see more of them if you're not actually doing all the technical fulfillment, right, all the time, if you're just doing the sales and onboarding part, essentially, then you can also be taking some of those people into online program, like, hey, you're an excellent candidate for this program we've got for fibromyalgia or mold illness or, fertility or whatever it is. You need to be doing this in addition to the acupuncture, right? And you work your whole office becomes an organic, like symbiotic colony of just so many good things happening all at once from different angles. You're going to find that there are less people falling through those cracks because you have different ways to catch them. If you can get somebody totally on herbs and off of acupuncture, that frees up your time substantially, right? Oh, but I make more money from acupuncture than herbs. Sure, but at this point, like, you're maxed on how much acupuncture you can sell. You're capped, that's just part of the model. So it's time to move to a model with a bigger upside, right, where you've got the scalability and the room to grow. So something to consider there. This is a success problem, absolutely, but it's also taking a linear time for money model to the max, and this is where it starts to break. And sounds like it's been broken for a long time if you've built up that much waste on a waiting list. And that's kind of another way to look at it, is like all the wasted potential. It's slingshots pulled back and just nothing's firing. And you got basically people suffering for a long time, mainly because you're trapped in a model that doesn't allow you to help them. So this is how we break some of that here. All right, I hope that helps. Get to work.